Let's start.
Yeah.
So good evening, everyone. Welcome to C Tribe's webinar, 30 Years on Road, Indian Infrastructure Lessons and Emerging Tech. For some of you who don't know what C Tribe is, so C Tribe is a community fostering the ecosystem of construction technology in India. We are a group of about 350 members, mostly entrepreneurs, venture capitalists, and academia, people who are building and researching in the space of construction technology in India, and for the world, right? So today, I am very delighted to introduce our guest, Mr. Siddhartha Dey, whose 3 decades journey in linear infrastructure has witnessed India's transformation. 34 years of experience. Siddhartha Dey is a veteran of Indian infrastructure and construction landscape. He has held some crucial leadership roles in industry giants like HCC, Adani Ports, and Oman Shapoorji, to name a few, and delivered some pretty complex projects across various project structures. From scaling team of 3,500 plus to 3,500 plus people to leading digital and process transformation process, Mr. Siddharth brings a unique blend of execution, excellence, and forward-looking insight. So we are so thrilled to have you, sir, with us today. And as I said, I've been trying to chase.
It's my pleasure too.
I'm finally getting to talk to you.
Yeah.
Amazing. So today what we will do is we will be exploring evolution of Indian infrastructure through your lens, through your experiences. And we would also like to learn from your experience about linear infrastructure, about challenges that you have faced or you're still facing in linear infrastructure, and how could technology maybe help you, and where technology has its own limitations. So we would like to extract all that from your knowledge and experience.
Sure.
Amazing. So starting off, sir, just a warm-up question. If you can talk to us about your favorite or your most memorable project, like which project you consider to be your most memorable project, something that stands out for you and you are proud about it.
I would say there are two projects which I'm really, I'm proud of all my projects, but if I have to highlight two of them would be the most prominent ones. One is hydropower project in Bhutan, that is Tala hydroelectric power project, that is one of them. And the other one, of course, goes to the Mumbai Airport Terminal T2. So these two have been, if you see this, the spread of the choice, one is a hydroelectric power project and one is basically a airport. So a vast gap between the two, but yes, these two are the ones.
Amazing, sir. And amongst these last projects, what is that one lesson that you might have picked that sticks to till date for you? Something that is very crucial to you, based on your experience in all these projects.
See, the two projects, if I look at the two projects, has had their unique characteristics. One project was in the heart of the Himalayas, in the high mountains. So I would say the project was like, any other project where we do everything, as engineers are supposed to do as civil engineers. And of course, we have our mechanical and electrical colleagues, our admin and finance guys, and all those things are there. And what we do primarily is what we do. But the biggest challenge is setting up a logistics of, establishing so many people in such hilly terrains. That goes as one of the biggest challenge and achievement that, I would say till date, whatever camps and establishments we have made in during my times of being with the projects, Tala C1 would be the toughest one, but it was one of the most beautiful one. So if I have to look at the challenge on the other side in Mumbai airport, I would say that the biggest challenge was to accommodate about a peak of 12,000 to 13,000 workers within the within or outskirts on the outskirts of the city of Mumbai. So I won't specifically say that the project was a challenge, but the logistics and the establishments were the real challenge. So this is where a project success depends, majorly.
Makes sense. I think the amount of workforce that we deal with, when we are using that facility, we don't realize that how many people and how many man hours have actually gone into, establishing. We pass through T2 airport quite frequently, and the scale is massive, but we don't realize. Recently I was looking at, Atal Setu bridge that was done, and the challenges of commuting workers from this shore to that location. So that reminds me what people itself, management of people and workforce itself is a big challenge on source website.
And just imagine decades back, we made the Bandra-Worli ceiling. So
Yeah,
when, you know,
correct.
so
That's the flagship of HCC. Yeah, excellent. So, uh, elaborating on these challenges, like what are some persisting challenges that you see in planning and executing of such projects? Maybe in the area of design, land acquisition, site preparation. You already touched upon procurement, equipment, progress monitoring. If some of
yeah.
these other areas you could touch on in terms of linear projects.
See, the biggest challenge in a linear project is when you are doing a vertical project, you are bound within a certain boundary.
Correct.
Okay. So you know the extent to which you have a space for movement.
Hmm.
You know,
Right.
you have a you have a better grip on planning the stuff, things like your batching plans, your work areas, your site offices, because
Hmm.
beyond the structure is where the structure will come up, but at the end of the day you need to have those office reinforcement yards and all. So when you look at it as a linear project,
Hmm.
just imagine a hydropower tunnel where the dam is at one location, and from there, when you go to the powerhouse, it's about 26 km downstream,
Correct.
you know.
Yeah.
And then you enter the tunnels where you have to literally create because you are cutting a vertical mountain, and you're just entering like this, and you don't
Hmm.
have a space in front to create all those stuff. Then you start creating those space, you know. These challenges are practically very, and for actually tackling these challenges, what I've seen is in my tenure of these projects, what I've seen is that you have to have the smell of the ground. You have to, as a civil engineer, you need to smell the ground.
Hmm.
No? Otherwise, neither planning succeeds.
Hmm.
Projects do happen and get completed. There are
Hmm.
different ways to get the projects completed. But
Hmm.
what you have completed becomes an iconic one only
Hmm.
when all these things are put together in.
Correct. Interesting. So,
So,
sir, just to kind of this has been something that I've also wanted to understand. So, if you imagine like the tunnel that you just mentioned, right? So you are basically going through the hill to your powerhouse, which is somewhere downstream, like you mentioned, 26 kilometers. How are you
yes.
managing, material, labor, access to all these different locations that you have? How are you stacking your material? Because end of the day, you need reinforcement,
Yeah.
you need concrete,
Yeah.
right? How
So,
does that happen on site?
again, yeah, sorry. Again, that depends on how the site looks like. First of all, you have to first assess the site. So what we do primarily is when we get a project, or even before we get a project, when we go for bidding,
Hmm.
our team actually starts working on the profile of the mountains and how things can be established, where we can create a bench, how it. In some projects you will see that you have the added to the tunnels. In front of that, what we do is when we start the initial excavation, we backfill the material on the slope and create the platform, and we have the store there, we have the this. If the slope is too steep, you cannot
Hmm.
create that for everything there. So then
Right.
you have to find a central location where you create a reinforcement bending binding yard. From there,
Hmm.
you transport it to the edit of the tunnel, and
Hmm.
there you just make some bundles or make some final touches and take it inside the tunnel. And
Hmm.
that is how the logistics depends on project to. You can never say that if you have done some logistics in one project, you will replicate the same in the other project, specifically when it comes to a hydropower project, you know.
Yeah, oh, I can agree 100%. I have had experience in renewables, and
Mm.
again, solar versus wind, very different ball game altogether.
Yeah, yeah.
accessibility.
Everybody is fighting between solar and wind, which will be the better choice. So,
But I think, I mean, I am a big supporter of hydro. Reason being the way it operates and the cleanliness that it has. The only drawback, there are some environmental concerns that people have, which I understand, but everything comes at a cost, at some cost.
yeah, yeah, yes.
Perfect. So, little more elaboration on this thing. So, have you seen coordination challenges in such places? Because I think, like you mentioned, every hydro project is also separate, different, because it depends on site conditions. So, how do you make sure that that coordination between different departments or different teams that are working in different spans? So, even if I take a highway, you have such a huge span, and you have material coordination that has to be done, site coordination, inspection coordination, so many things come into picture. So how do you make sure that those coordination work well within your team, and how do you tackle it?
I think nowadays the easiest way to do it, and people are doing it, which of course I don't know how much I should, say that I accept this type of communication, because there are a lot of gaps in this type of communications. But I think the easiest thing people do today is create a few groups in WhatsApp for different coordinations. Okay. In our days on the site, we did not have this WhatsApp or mobiles and all. So we used to have walkie-talkies. Primarily in flat areas, walkie-talkies would work very well. But then when it came to hilly areas, walkie-talkies won't, even walkie-talkies won't work. So we had to create substations, router stations in between. And what the mobile people or the, your connectivity people do today, this router and all, we have been using it long back in the, this wireless communications through walkie-talkies and all. So that is one. But the most important part is that I always appreciate people, now that mobiles are there, I always appreciate people directly talking to one another to solve the problems. Because what happens is, if I have seen this, if I put it on a WhatsApp, then irrelevant people will start putting responses, and the person for whom it is meant would most of the time remain silent.
Uh,
So you really don't pass on the communication in the right way, first of all, and to the right person first, in the second place. Unless this happens, your coordination is going to suffer. Then you have to have, since like these linear projects, as you said, highways are, maybe somebody gets a package of 40 kilometers, somebody gets a package of 26 kilometers nonetheless. But at the same point of time, communication also needs to have a weekly meeting together of people across the table to really evaluate the last week, the challenges which were addressed, how they were addressed, which were not addressed, and why they failed to address that. If these things can be discussed across the table every week, once every week, then you create a situation where, as you move forward in a project, you clear most of the coordination use on the table. And the last thing I would say is, be brothers on the side, and don't make enemies at site, because no one is there to be permanently with you. All goes to the project, they do the project, and then somebody goes to another project, somebody goes to the other project. So it's not about, it's not, 4 years is not too long a time to spend in, criticizing, spend in, arguments, spend in this and that. Be friendly, be like brothers and sisters, and just do the job. Take everybody's help everybody else. That's all.
Very, very beautiful take to this thing. I think construction runs on brotherhood and trust,
Yes.
as we discussed, because that's how you will deliver such huge projects in time.
Right.
So coordination, we spoke right now about mostly, I am assuming, the on-ground stuff, but there is also head office, or your design team that is sitting in the office, your scheduling project management team, which is partly sitting in the office. So how does that coordination work? Because relaying that information, that update, that issue, and explaining it to them, and then receiving a response.
See,
And then
today's world, I would say today's world, that coordination is a lesser of a challenge for me.
oh, okay,
Primarily, my challenge is with the ground level workers on the site.
okay,
The
okay.
reason being that every project would establish a central office at a location where you have internets, where you have mobile signals, where you have phone connectivities, where you have emails and all those things.
Mm-hmm.
So, and majorly, most of the construction projects work on major decisions being made at the site itself, except maybe some financial controls from head office
Okay.
and some monitoring controls from head office.
Mm-hmm.
It's better managed by the office staff at the site with the head office. Okay. So the number of people that has to be coordinated is limited. Communication flow, availability of different types of communication flows are there. Ease of communication is there. So that is not a bigger challenge for me.
Okay.
Bigger challenge is if I have to put a guy inside the tunnel and if I have to call him back suddenly because of an emergency, how do I do that?
True.
That is what a project team needs to primarily focus upon, because what happens if head office does not get information or something on time, they will kick everybody's A to get those informations. Okay. But when you are at a project, you have to ensure that your people are doing their best. At the same point of time, there might be different criticalities that they are facing. And when you, as a project manager, when you sit in the project office, or a project director, when you sit in the project office, you have so much, so much to look at. The people's well-being, people's safety, people's emotions, their
Correct.
emergencies. Just think, the guys sitting out there or working out there in the rains, in the heat, in the sun, in
Correct.
the dirt, the muck, everything, and suddenly an emergency happens at their home, where even to come to the nearest railway station they would take 10 hours.
Right. Yeah.
So empathy and emotion plays a big role.
Right.
And on top of all managing all these things, you have to give progress.
Yes.
You have to complete the project on time. You have to manage the cost. You have to manage the budget.
Correct.
So I think the bigger challenge of coordination lies on the site, not off the site.
Beautiful. I mean, I think I appreciate the fact that you touch on emotions, because I think mental health in our industry is very undermined. Our people go on such hard conditions to execute their jobs, and that emotional support, if they get from their team, their management who are at site, who are supporting them, that's a huge boost, and then they'll go for any boundaries to get that work done.
See, it's always good to be a professional, but a professional need not be always archaic. Professional, a good a person who has empathy, a person who has emotions can also become a good professional, and that is what this industry needs.
Right.
I don't know about other industries. I've never worked in other industries, but I know specifically that this industry needs professionals who have empathy, who have emotions, because this industry is completely different. And I would say, I think, I used to tell that people like us who have always mostly worked in hydropower projects in remote areas, our life is more or less equivalent to the armed forces who are stationed in those locations.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah, I agree.
you have to be like that. You have to
Correct.
have those,
Correct. So this brings me to a very interesting question, and I would leverage your experience in that also, because you've grown order books 3x, revenues 7x, and you've also scaled up teams. So what leadership behaviors matter most? When you're scaling teams from, say, small teams to 1,000, and this also touches to your fact that you just mentioned, about camaraderie, about building that brothership and having that empathy in your team. So what's your approach of building your team up as a
See,
leader?
when you build a team, primarily, augmenting business and augmenting teams are two big challenges in any organization. Primarily because every organization has its own ethos. Every organization has its own DNA. Okay. People who has been attached to those organizations for maybe 5, 6, 10 years, they are already built into that ethos. Now just imagine a company you have which has got about 100 people, and now the business is scaling up to an extent that they need 500 people.
Right.
These 400 people, right, ratio of 1 is to 4. The 400 people are going to come from different ethos, different DNAs, different organizations with different, ways of working. है ना? So the first and prime objective is to see how you align these people and how you bring them into your fold. And that is where I would say you have to approach these people less as a leader. Of course, you have to retain your leadership because you have to deliver at the end of the day. But at the same point of time, a leader's biggest responsibility becomes how to, incorporate these people coming from outside into the culture of the organization. Once they are into the culture of the organization, things become easy. And I don't think some people say that culture, what do I do with culture? I am an engineer, I am a project manager, I have to deliver. Culture is something HR will look at. No. Every leader has to be sensitive to the culture and ethos of people who are coming from other cultures and how you blend them into the culture of the present organization you are building up. Because just imagine when you grow, when you build teams, you are actually working 1 is to 4 ratio, where 1 is the people inside and 4 is the people coming from outside.
Right. So there is an equal effort to maintain the ethos of your organization and at the same time bring them onto that power. Because sometimes what happens, like you said, 4 people coming out. So the ethos can be shaken very fast if the leadership is not firm enough to maintain that culture of the company.
Yeah.
So, sir,
Seen some companies having these buddy systems, but I really don't have seen this because I also had a buddy in one of my organizations, but I could hardly meet him in the 6 months of the buddy system that we had. I could hardly meet him. So if I am a buddy to somebody and if I don't meet him and if I don't make him feel at home in this organization, just imagine where he will go.
Right.
So that's how it is.
Right. So, but sir, another question that kind of relates to this is when you're bringing people onto your team, right? Onboarding as a culture, sometimes it is non-existent, sometimes it is there. So, in your practice, have you had certain onboarding, ways of bringing people on, educating them, educating meaning about your culture, about the work ethos, and about your systems, and then putting them into the workforce?
Yes, I have done that. In fact, in 2 organizations, I have built teams. And even here now, I'm building a team of a new team. So naturally, it had to be done. And, the challenge was when I joined these organizations, I was also new. So I was adjusting I was not only trying to adjust these new people I am bringing in into this organization's culture and ethos, I was also trying myself to adjust to that. So it was a dual challenge for me in those days.
So, sir, youngsters, it's a big saying nowadays that youngsters are not interested in construction or civil because of the hardships that the thing faces, the pay scale. There are multiple factors that bring into that fact. And there is also a problem that construction industry today shouts, saying that we are short of skilled labor or skilled manforce to be able to deliver projects. So in your experience, how have you trained this next generation, and how have you upskilled this next generation so that they can come up to speed and deliver the work or the expectation that is there from them on the project sites?
See, one thing is I would first like to counter this theory that construction is not a high-paying job practically, but every job demands you prove yourself. Construction is a very core industry. This is not an industry like IT where suddenly you have grown as an IT partner, and from day one you are getting a certain amount of bulk salary. Because
Correct.
if you see the life of IT softwares and all, and your knowledge base is also
Mm,
limited unless you
mm,
augment, keep on augmenting. Construction or the core business of construction is not like that. Okay.
mm,
I have seen people with very good salary structures.
mm.
IT is becoming more or less non-paying today. You just check the quantum of people that are getting pink slips.
Correct. Mm,
Do they compare anywhere to the numbers that we have on pink slips in our industry? We don't have. So you have to look at whether you are looking at 10 years of very high-paying jobs, or you are
mm.
looking at 30 years of a constant or
Yeah.
progressively growing job pay structure. This is one.
Mm, mm,
Second thing is that when I also hate to hear the people saying that young generations are not ready to give hard work. I really counter that because I have seen many young guys in my projects who are working hard.
mm,
Now, what is our responsibility then?
mm,
Our responsibility is to take this hard work to a smarter work.
mm,
You know, my boys at site, if he
mm,
can do with the existing technologies or technologies that are coming in, if I incorporate them into my construction field,
mm.
and if my boys can use that to reduce their hard work from 10 hours to 6 hours,
Mm.
just imagine they have got 4 hours extra to beef up their efficiency level.
Correct.
So one of the, I would say my industry has been one of the slowest in integrating technology. And we cannot
100%.
do without it. We cannot do without it. I have been shouting at, the many forums that I have addressed. I have been shouting for last 10 years. I have been saying that this industry needs to move towards technology.
Yeah.
Okay. I have seen mindsets in this industry where we buy an equipment like let us say we buy a dozer
Mm,
and we buy it from Germany or somewhere else.
mm.
And those people, they have these ACs and music systems and everything fixed into that. The
Correct.
moment it comes to an Indian project site, Indian construction company's project site, the first thing to be taken out are the fans, the ACs, and the music system. It
Correct.
is an attitude issue. It has got nothing to do with anything else other than attitude. Because
Correct.
attitude wise, we tend to think that if I provide an AC, the operator will not work, he will sleep inside the cabin.
Correct.
So,
Correct.
unless we as leaders of the industry, unless we as leaders of the construction, industry in this country, change our attitude towards, how we treat people, what we give people. Now,
Mm,
today, just imagine among so many, today you have countless number of construction companies, and it is the easiest company to have in this country.
mm,
I would say the construction companies are the easiest to have one in the country
mm.
and to become an entrepreneur. But tell me, out of so many Indian construction companies, how many companies or even the established clients, how many
Mm.
of them have moved to Primavera as a programming package with detailed resourcing?
Correct.
Hardly any.
Correct.
Hardly any. Because I can tell you, after this MTHL, which you were talking about, MTHL had all those drone surveys and all because the client insisted on it.
Mm,
Yet many things can happen if client insists on it.
mm.
When the same comes to another project, there is no insistence, nobody bothers.
Mm.
I'm happy making my people, toil 14 hours at site, 20 hours at site. When he comes to me for leave, I would say, नहीं ये emergency काम है, इसको खत्म करो फिर जाओ.
Right.
It, all these things look so easy to me,
Right.
rather than providing technology support and easing their work.
Right.
People are becoming digital. We have to understand. People are becoming digital. Our young generation is becoming digital, and
Yes.
it is not bad.
Right.
We have to utilize their, their orientation towards digital, technologies to
Yes.
make them work effectively and reduce this dependence on numbers.
Correct.
Problem is this construction industry has always talked of numbers. They have never talked of skills.
Right.
Yes, big forums, people will say skill chahiye, but that forum ends, the skill ends. The competency built up ends.
Yeah.
Just show me one company which has got 10% of its revenue or cost going towards skill development.
Correct.
Maybe only you can name is L&T.
Mm.
That's all.
Correct. 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 Bang on,
So
sir.
that's all.
I think a lot of people listening to this on our community will be very, very elated, and to
And
hear
they will
some.
curse me also.
No, no, they will be very happy, sir. My community will be very
Okay.
happy because I think they are all trying to preach the same knowledge that digitalization is inevitable. I mean, if you are not doing, why is L&T so successful today? Is because they've started focusing on that as a means, and that gives them a
Yeah.
lot of consolidation power and data to control, and that data
Yeah.
is gold. To be able
See,
to make
our problem is we start evaluating cost in the initial phases and we start talking of that cost impacting a project.
right.
But if you really look at it, if you actually distribute that cost to the efficiency improvement
Mm,
and the cost that you save out of it, your
mm,
bottom lines would look far better than what it would look without digitalization.
right. Because sir,
Today
I
the
went. Mm,
yeah,
please.
today the industry is facing nearly 40% manpower shortage.
Yeah.
Nearly 40%. Yeah, urbans may be better. The higher reaches of the Himalayas, remote areas may be a little bit worse. Region wise also it is different. The northern and eastern regions have got better, control over numbers, whereas on the western and southern front, which depends on migrant labor, there are issues with numbers. But how can we counter that? We are not going to produce more people for the industry.
Correct.
We're not going to the hospitals to bring newborn babies to come into this industry and, be a part of it.
Correct.
And day by day, this number is going to reduce further because as generations grow, if I am a carpenter, I would never want my child to be a carpenter. I would, try to give him some education, whatever best I can, and I would move him to a, profession where he will be more comfortable and he will earn better.
Exactly.
Numbers are going to reduce. No, nonetheless, nobody, I can guarantee that nobody can give me a one pager write up saying that this is how I will, increase the 40 or reduce the deficit of 40% people on my side
Correct.
or 35% people on my side.
Correct.
Show me one, I'll leave the industry.
Correct. I
But
remember one of
what we
one of
need
the
to do is we
uh,
need to, make up this 40% or 35% deficit through efficiency improvements.
perfect. Agreed. 100%. I think that's the only way forward because even with climate issues that are coming up with longer prolonged summer strokes that are there, prolonged monsoons, abrupt monsoons. What is happening in
Yeah.
Himachal right now is something that is very catastrophic for the region.
Just imagine. Just
So
imagine. Yeah.
any project that is happening in that region is already suffering so much. So if we don't have those backup plans in terms of technology, again, because data is such an important factor. If today you have that data, you can predict those risks much better than what you can predict without that data.
And
And
not
this,
only that, we have to reduce human dependency because just imagine, on one side we are having a situation where the next gen or third gen or Gen Z is moving away from this industry. Okay. On the other side, the skilled manpower availability is aging.
correct,
Okay. So numbers are dwindling. On
correct,
top of that, just imagine, even Europe is now asking for Indian manpower. Even
correct,
Russia is asking for Indian manpower.
correct.
Okay. So your numbers if you think or if we think that we will, somehow go to the villages, pull out the agricultural people you will still not be able to reduce this 40% efficiency.
Even agriculture is facing a shortage, sir. I mean, I know of people who have private farms where they harvest fruits and vegetables, so they are not getting labor for their purposes.
Yeah,
So, which
right,
is the
right.
least in terms of skill set. So, construction is definitely going to face challenge, and this is where I bring another interesting question, because whenever we or anyone in this community goes uh, sorry, whenever anyone goes out and pitches a solution to a customer, the first question they ask is ROI, or return on investment. Like you said correctly, they're evaluating that particular cost to the first project head, and they will be trying to find out how much am I going to make out of it. And this is where I would like to ask, what is that temperamental mind shift that should happen on the management side, or what should startups in terms talk to or tell that these people, so that they can understand? Because people come back and say, I will throw in 2 more civil engineers. Why do I need, civil engineer will come at 15,000 rupees. I will spend 30,000. Why do I spend 50,000 on your solution?
What I would advise the startups is, because I also meet a lot of startups coming to me with, let me tell you, the problems that I face with these startups.
Mm.
If you come with a digital technology,
Mm.
and you have never seen a project site, and you
Mm.
tell me your digital technology will work,
Mm.
it will not work.
Mm.
Digital technology for manufacturing is a process orientation.
Correct.
Digital technology for construction is not a process orientation. It is accumulation and integration of the real site conditions where people work on the ground.
Correct.
Machines, if you can give a memory to the machine and feed the program, it will go on producing.
Mm.
It will not happen at the construction site. Okay. So first of all, the startups need to realize that if I'm okay with young guys going for a startup, but at least have people who have vast experience on the field advise you on what construction means. Go to the construction site, see the things. People who you make as a startup owner, if you make 10 people sit together and make a program for a certain works, please ask them to first go to a place where they can see those works, how it happens. Okay. Somebody thinks that if I deploy a my one shuttering in a flat construction, then the cycle time should be 9 days, and he programs it into it. Now under what conditions will be 9 days? If I ask him, he doesn't know.
Mm.
This is one part. So the startup company, I would advise the startups to be aware of the subject in which they are entering into a startup. It is not necessary that you have to know everything yourself. You need to have people who know it on board.
Correct.
You can have different ways of, getting associated with different people. You know, in India, people retire by 60. Use the people after 60. They
Mm.
have a vast experience in their, kitty.
Mm.
Second thing that I face, what you said, is basically that if I go to somebody, how I should pitch myself.
Correct.
I would say hit below the belly, hit where it, uh, hit where it, pains hardest.
Uh-huh.
Find out the pain points of that company.
Mm.
In general, most of the companies have, construction companies have fixed pain points,
Mm.
like shortage of manpower.
Mm.
This is one, you know. Efficiency issues. Like if I am using a machine which is supposed to give me 100 cubic meter of excavation per hour, I am getting only 40 cubic meter per hour in a certain type of soil. Whether
Mm.
there can be a digital intervention to see if it can be improved to more.
Mm.
Okay,
Mm.
hit where it pains the hardest. Find out the pain points. Don't approach a company just to sell your product.
Mm.
This will not help in this industry.
Mm.
Approach a company with solutions, with case studies of some even if you don't have a practical case study, make a theoretical case study. If you spend this much on technology, it costs you this much. But against this, these are the things like, efficiency improvement is this. Salary wages cost of 40, out of 40% shortage, 20% efficiency improvement will suffice. So your progress is going to improve. Your, bottom line is going to improve. Be on those points. Unless you are on, see, if I go to a doctor and he gives me some medicine, I'll take the medicine for 5 days, 10 days. If I don't get a result, I'll immediately start searching another doctor. That is what it happens in the industry. Unless you are specific to solve my pain point, unless you are specific to somebody specific to solving your pain point, why should you pay them for something? But there has been instances where people have come to me. They have actually explained the case studies, how it can help me improve on my bottom line. Some of these pilot projects have been done at no cost, and these became part of our purchase. And they are regular vendors in those companies today. If anything happens, people call them up, give me a solution to this. Once you establish that, it is no longer about establishing you as an organization, whether startup or anything. Then it is all about you being a part of them.
Right. But sir, this is a question that also comes is, finding that pain point, because like in most of the conversations, the customer always asks, what do you bring? Right. So that conversation itself is not able to establish where you can actually understand and learn. So what is the right way to get that?
When you start approaching the head of the department in the first go, you face a certain rejection. So find a person in his team who has an attitude to the things that you are trying to sell.
Interesting. Yeah.
Understand from him what are the problems his department or his project or this and that faces in the situation that they are in. Then map it with the solutions that you can provide. Okay. Then ask him to help you push it up to the HOD. Because see, at the end of the day, HOD is bogged down with so many targets, He would prefer to rather go in a traditional way than spending, first meeting 3 hours with you, in second meeting 10 hours with you. Then when this thing comes in to stabilize these things, another 3 months with you. Why should we bother about that? Work with people actually maybe at the second or third level first. Bring in that concept and let these people speak about your product to the HODs. How it will help them. If I tell my boss that this is what will help me do this in this way, my boss is certainly going to give some weightage to it and tell me that, okay, bring that boy along, let me also discuss.
Makes sense. That's actually, I think, very helpful for a lot of people listening to this, because I think that's where their conversations get stuck, and they are always asking, who to approach. So as you rightly said, maybe instead of the head of the department, we start with the actual ground people who are working, pick them, understand from them, and then map the solution, and then take it to the to the end customer, to the decision maker.
See, we don't want to go through this process. Frankly speaking, I have been also dealing with. I'm very proud that India's startup scenario is improving day by day. But at the same point of time, like our industry needs to improve in its attitude, the startup industry also needs to change its attitude. It's not about selling one product today and just forgetting it tomorrow.
Correct.
If you really want to have a successful startup, start building the relation from day one that will continue till day end.
Correct. Perfect. So, sir, now touching more on technology, which is that one technology that you have seen apart from WhatsApp? Because I know you mentioned that at the start, but which is that one technology that you have seen in your execution, in your linear projects or in your infra projects, that has really stood out and has actually shown value in your projects for you? That has stood out to your experience, your company's use cases?
I will tell you two instances. In one instant, we had a, our company had internally developed a safety practice, safety practice software, and we had a mobile app to that.
Mm.
You know. So what it did,
Mm.
you might be thinking that, I'm talking of technology and Mr. Day is talking about safety software. How does this blend? Okay. What is the most important thing that a person will have in his mind when he goes inside a tunnel?
So I come out
Or
safe.
he is passing a zone where you had just yesterday you had a landslide,
Correct.
and how it will affect his efficiency? It
Correct.
might look strange, but this guy will not have his mind to work.
Correct.
So we developed an app through mobile where we could track this and we could have real-time information. And if not 10, we can prevent at least 8 people from having a feel of that event or incident or accident, and
Mm.
such that his mind does not get diverted.
Mm.
This is one thing. One technology I evaluated on the purely on the technical front, and which I found very good, but I could not, implement it during my tenure there. It was like using a drone
Mm.
and a lidar system,
Mm.
not only to map the ground on a flatland.
Mm.
I worked with the vendor to understand and make him develop a technology, improve the technology to an extent. My first question to him was, all these, your presentations are very good. You can do too many things. Tell me two things. In a hilly region where I have lot of trees and all, how it will map the ground?
Correct.
Will your lidar do? Will your this do? You tell me a solution for this. Because for
Correct.
my project, I don't need a technology which cannot penetrate the trees or the huge forest areas and give me the contour of the ground.
Correct.
That is one. And second
Correct.
thing asked him on the day one is, you tell me how your thing works below ground.
Mm.
One is contouring. His technology was advanced to such, and believe me, he was one guy or one partner was a pilot, and
Mm.
one partner was a ship captain. They
Interesting.
used all their professional GPS and all those knowledge to integrate this technology into such a beautiful way,
Mm.
that they could do a lot of things. Well, I may have a restriction in my type of project, but it could do a lot of things in many projects.
Mm.
Like we were talking about a cable stayed bridge, which we have been awarded. And I
Mm.
spoke to him and he said, I can even give you a monthly billing out of my this technology. You don't have to do any measurements.
Very nice.
The question came whether you can do it underwater,
Mm.
you know. Then
Mm.
it was not effective. Then
Mm.
we started discussing, and I had a lot of interaction with this guy to see that, we can do something to get into
Mm.
it. But
Mm.
unless it encompasses the whole thing, I could not have done that.
Mm.
So we discussed about how to use a sonar,
Mm.
and do the underground mapping and integrate with this system.
Mm.
How to use something else to do a, heavily infested forest area for the
Mm.
contouring and for the excavation, billing. How do I integrate my quarry operations with my stores and with my, project delivery? Because if I take material from the quarry, it will pass through the store and it will go to the site of execution.
Mm.
I may straight away send it to the site, but I have to introduce a system of registering it in the stores.
Mm.
It was a real good technology, and I think in next 2 3 years they will be on top of it.
Mm. Very interesting. I think even people, I think today, many people are actually wanting, visual-based progress tracking, visual-based progress management to kind of free up that team from just collecting those numbers and submitting on an Excel sheet, rather
No,
have.
this software could even prepare, visual presentations or videos visual videos of how it looked over the last 1 month and how it grew over the last 1 month.
Correct. Correct. Exactly.
I think there can be no better presentation other than making your graphs and all. If you can show somebody a video of the progress, what else you can have it? You know,
Correct. Correct.
expectations would be too less after that.
Correct. Correct. Now, sir, last question because we are almost at time. So I would
Yeah,
want
sure.
to take you 10 years ahead. So 2035, you are on a major
Hmm.
infrastructure side. So what is your vision of what you will see at that point of time? Because we are evolving in technology, AI, robots, everything is coming up today. Now, at
Yeah.
least we're talking about it. So from your functional experience, from your on-ground experience, what do you see that
From my experience part of it, if you ask me, from my experience part of it, if you ask me, I would tell you a sad story because I don't see this industry thinking, thinking progressively towards the next, next level of taking the industry to the next level.
Mm.
On a positive side, I would say I'm still positive because somebody one day might come up and say that no, we have to drastically change this industry. I'm waiting for that day.
Mm.
I'm trying my bit in the industry to bring whatever changes I can. But
Mm.
we really need a person in power who drives it through end to end. Putting the gaps, in putting all the plugs in into place and reducing the gaps and taking this industry to the next level. If I can see it before I leave this universe, it would be the proudest thing for me to have in my profession.
Amazing. Excellent. So I will open up for maybe 2 questions. If anyone has, if you can raise your hand and then, we can pick up and you can ask a question.
Hi,
So
Chaitanya. Can I, sorry to
yeah,
interrupt.
hi. Hi,
Hi,
Sankha.
Chaitanya.
Please
Yeah,
go
hi,
ahead.
Mr. Siddhartha. Yeah,
Hi,
I'll
Shankar.
just say, gents and ladies, whoever here, today was a masterclass on linear projects. So everything you said, I'm experiencing this, and your prayers have been answered. We are building something for the linear construction as well, and I sometimes believe that linear construction is a separate breed to the horizontal construction, vertical construction. So everything you said, just to, on your point, WhatsApp is still being used. We're trying to change that. God knows how well we'll do it. And one more thing which was very interesting is how do you approach people for other startups who are there in the linear projects? I think for me, it took at least couple of years to build that relationship with Kia Construction here. So they are themselves very backward in terms of getting that. And the young generations, they are wanting digital technology. So just yesterday, we got a call from the project manager said, Shankar, we saw your work there. Can you work for us on this? So, you're absolutely spot on with saying this. So thank you. And it's been a masterclass. I really love the conversation. Thank you, Chaitanya,
Thank
for
you, sir.
organizing
Thank
this.
you.
Cheers.
Perfect. And anyone else would like to go maybe unmute yourself and all right.
Yeah, maybe I will ask a question. Yeah,
I am.
I was hoping that somebody else asked. Siddharthajit, thank you for being with us. So
Thank
you mentioned in the last, I hope there's that one person who comes and pushes technology. That is me, but I don't have power. So Siddharthji, because the startup that we are driving, we are saying there should be no construction. So that is how we are trying to shake the industry, saying construction is the problem, therefore remove construction for certain kind of, I'm not saying linear projects, obviously we need. Certain small projects, we are still constructing, even a toilet is built over 20, 30 days. So this has to stop. So this is where we are disrupting. So my question to you is similar to what Chaitanya tried to ask you. If you were to say wish for some of like a handful of technologies, can you just name them? What would you like to see in your lifetime happening? I mean, I know it is wishful thinking, but we'll never know. If you don't dream, you'll not achieve it.
Yeah,
you, Amshavardhanji.
spark ideas.
Nice question. Sorry. Anybody saying
Yeah.
something?
I always
No,
say
it
that
was-
it may also spark ideas. People here are always looking for ideas.
No, I think Amshavardhanji, this is a very pertinent question. When we talk about technology, what we should have and what we should not have. In the scenario of a constraint-based fund availability and all those things with the companies, I think one of the technology that we need to evaluate is how we implement robotics and AI into operating the machines at site. See, we can have digitalization on the table. We can have digitalization on reporting. We can have a digitalization on progress monitoring, controls, cost, everything. But at the point where the main thing happens on the ground, just think what technology I can give. How I can introduce robotics into it, how I can introduce AI into it. We are still far from having, we have preventive maintenance, but we are still far from having predictive maintenance. Can we have predictive maintenance to improve the, working hours and efficiency of our equipment? I would say that these are the most important technology. If I am working inside a tunnel, I would like to have an excavator working without an operator.
which is already possible. I mean, it's not even a
It's
far-fetched idea.
possible. I am not saying that the technology is not there. I am again saying that, the adaptability of this technology with Indian construction scenario is still far, far away. We are using something, but, that hardly forms any percentage of the total, because at the end of the day, if I have 3,000 people at a project, if I talk of hydropower project, if I have 3,000 people there, just imagine out of 3,000 people, only 50 odd people will be in the office with the digital tools. The rest of the people, all those numbers are going to be at site. We have to strengthen them digital. We have to take the digital technology in construction to that extent where this mass scale of people who are there gets into that digitalization and improvement efficiency.
Chaitanya is a proponent of digital transformation. So
Thank you.
in fact, his business is all about digital transformation. He's seeking out people and is not trying to bell the cats, so to say. So Chaitanya, if you allow me one more question, if you don't mind.
Sure. I mean, if sir has time.
Of course,
Yeah, I'm okay with it.
Sorry, yeah. So I've been in the field of architecture construction for 20 plus years. And the one word that will describe the biggest problem in construction because we make buildings, we don't do infrastructure, is delay. I consider delay as the biggest devil in construction, which sort of destroys trust, escalates costs, everybody gets frustrated, things shift, technology shifts, needs shift, even demography shifts. If you make a building for certain kind of people, by the time the building is built, the demography itself has changed. So Siddhartha ji, apart from this delay, what are some of the biggest problems that you have faced in your life, which you wished were not there? So some of us can solve that.
I think in my type of projects, the biggest thing that I face is always the uncertainties that I cannot see. When I enter a tunnel, I do not know where I'm entering. We may have so many type of predictive soil reports, geotechnical investigations, but they hardly go a few meters when my tunnel goes 25 kilometers. So every moment I have to, keep on predicting what I see out in front. We are doing probing technologies and all. Like if I blast a face of 3 meters, after that I go for a 9 meter four poling and check the strata there. But to make us, speed up the
we
project.
have GPR, no? GPR, ground penetrating radar and all that, which goes up to 20,
all these
20
things
30.
are there, but all these have their own limitations, primarily, see, if once I am inside the adit by about, half a kilometer or so, from outside, everything stops working. So we need to see how we actually see. One of the biggest thing about digital technology is today it needs connectivity. I can have even one of the biggest challenge is this also, how I provide connectivity in the areas where I'm working to make these digital tools work effectively. So
Brilliant,
one
brilliant.
aspect in which we have to solve this digital, apathy is also by looking at how we actually create the network of availability of digital, availability
Tools.
of tools to operate in those conditions digitally.
That's amazing. That's an easily solvable problem. I'm sure some of us can actually get into that. What else,
I
sir?
actually tried working, I tried working with a few of in one of my projects in Tapovan in Uttarakhand. I tried working with two technology companies to see how I can actually push my mobile signals inside the tunnel, and as my face goes on increasing in depth, the signal goes on boosting. After 2.5 kilometers or 3 kilometers, technology stopped working. Either technology stopped working or these people could not give a solution. That's how it is.
It's mostly the mind which has stopped working.
Maybe.
No, because when there is wireless, I just saw a joke where
Hmm.
the doctor takes out a baby and the nurse says, "No umbilical cord." He says, "These are new models, cordless models." So I
Right.
think just because we have wireless doesn't mean we can't have wires. Like you said, you could probably have cables. You can carry cable. People have laid cable across oceans. I mean, our internet works because there are cables
So
underneath the.
see, we have to also understand the restrictions of taking too many cables inside the tunnel, because since the blasts are there, since the rock falls are there, since surfaces collapse on and off, so
Yeah.
the cables may not actually. We tried cables, but they did not work. That's when
Yeah,
we
yeah.
thought
There's always
wires.
solutions. Yeah.
Yeah. There are solutions. We can always work it out.
Yeah, I mean, I think I saw in one of the recent mobile congresses, I saw I think Siemens or some company, they had this helmet which has low frequency Bluetooth, because that's what they have been trying to use for miners who go inside. So if they have to communicate or if there's an emergency, they create that network of low frequency Bluetooth signals. And I think Sankha also did something on that some time back. But you have that, and that relays that information across. Hopefully, but I think that is still not 100% tested. Of course, there are limitations there also, but I think that is a very interesting
See,
thing.
I don't
It's
think
an amazing
we'll
area.
ever have a technology which will be fully perfect, because it is an evolving thing. So every time you evolve, you reach a stage beyond which there is another stage. So this
Correct.
is the reality we have to accept.
Correct. And that is why I think BitChat also came out recently in beta mode, which is 100% Bluetooth based, not Wi-Fi signal, and I think that will be a big thing for construction.
Yeah.
Great, sir. Anything else you're
Amazing.
thinking about, sir?
No, nothing at this point. I think these things are big subjects, so we can have a lot of
Multiple
discussions on them, but always it's better to have the key points in place and start
No,
off
you have
from.
already touched on the nerve by mentioning robotics and AI as your first problem, and we could look at robotics as exoskeletons and wearable strength givers. Like you want that superhuman ability to see through walls and maybe drill and take out a sample of soil or whatever on the spot. That is all possible right today if somebody puts it together. Thank you very much. Thanks,
Thank you.
Chaitanya, for allowing me to ask some questions.
Absolutely, and thank you, sir, for your patience and for spending that extra time with us. And it was really fascinating. I mean, your insights today were really fascinating, about infrastructure, challenges of infrastructure, and some very interesting perspectives about value of human life and human emotions on building that project. So I think this is something that is very less spoken of. And I really appreciate the fact that you bring that in that conversation and brotherhood, camaraderie, because this is a felt emotion, but this is never talked about. I've been to so many places, it's never really happened. So thanks a lot. And we are really glad to have you on Seat Right. And I mean, I would definitely want to have one more session sometime soon.